Open the meeting with an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Vice Chairman Frank Akins, if you would, please.
Certainly. Bow with me if you'd care to. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time that we can come together. We pray, Lord, that you will lead, guide, and direct our actions tonight, and may all that we say and do be pleasing to you. We pray now that you'll undergird all of our actions here tonight, and we thank you for the opportunity to serve. In your precious name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we have employee recognition, and we have a certificate of achievement for the excellence in financial reporting. And if we would please, if Commissioner Helms, would you present this award, please? We'll have two of them. Two of them. That's the first one. This is the second. Okay. Preparation of the comprehensive annual financial report, or the CAFR, would not be possible but without the combined dedicated efforts of both finance and budget division staff. These are Debbie Cox, and if you would please come up and receive the award as I call your name out. Beverly Lyles, Daniel Purser, Amanda Alston, Trina Horn, Andrea Robinson, Chris Alexander, and Ubru Kukro. Did I say that right? Aber. Sorry, Aber.
Well, as was demonstrated, we are very fortunate to have a financial team such as yourself. And the county is very fortunate, and we appreciate all your efforts. Who's got that iPhone? You got one, you need to. That's the second one.
A lot of the CAFR. This is just the CAFR.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right. And Chris, if you would stay up here, we've got another award for you, I believe. Item number 4, along with that, is the popular annual financial report, is a brief summary of the county's comprehensive annual financial report. The PAFR, the PAFR, right? Is that right? Was compiled by Chris Alexander.
Chris, thank you very much for all that you do for the county, and you set the standard pretty high.
Thank you.
Thank you all for what you do for the county. Next on the agenda was a public hearing. We received a telephone call today from the EDC that the company has requested that the public hearing for QSPAC, also known as Project Convert, be removed from the agenda. Is there anyone present who wanted to comment during the public hearing? Okay, so we apologize for short notice on the request being removed from the agenda, but we did not receive the request until this morning. Do we have a motion to remove the public hearing from the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none? Okay. Do we not have any employee recognitions? Okay. Next, we have additions, deletions, and our adoption of the agenda. And with that, we would need to remove item 14 from the agenda. That would be the Economic Development Incentive Grant. Any other additions, deletions? Oh, informal comments. We had nobody sign up on informal comments, so we didn't have anybody for that. Any additions, deletions, or adoption of the agenda? Motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, none? Next, we have the consent agenda. Any items for the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that we add to the consent authorization of notice to terminate wastewater services agreement.
All right, we'll add that to the consent agenda. as item number, where did you want this?
11A.
11A? Okay, any other? All those in favor of the minute consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? All right, next we have old business. Union County Public Schools funding transfer request. Do we have someone here from the school system for the,
Staff didn't receive any notification from the Board of Education as to whether or not someone would be in attendance this evening or not. The action as requested, as we understand it, based upon actions they took, I believe, at their last board meeting as well as at their facilities meeting, was again to request greater latitude as it related to their capital funding allocation. In the agenda abstract, we identified to the board that you heard this request on July 20th of 2015, as well as at your January 19th, 2016 meeting. And from the information we have received, the request has not changed substantially from the 2 times that you heard it previously. And at your January 19th meeting, the board at that point in time declined to provide that additional flexibility. The request actually was to defund the IP camera platform as well as defund the Benson Heights Elementary School capital funding and provide it to the Board of Education for emerging needs. As the board is very well aware, we are in the midst of budget preparation. We will be receiving from the Board of Education their budget request by May 15th as required statutorily. And at least as your manager, I would say that would be the appropriate time for them to make any of their needs known to the board in light of the fact we're about to go into the 2017 budget.
there were some issues that we attended the school board meeting at Piedmont Middle School last month, and it was brought out by the staff and by some board members that no longer was the security camera or the IP platform. Was that a concern that they had, that it was in no way a safety issue nor a safety concern that they had anymore? That would be about 1.2 million, I believe, on that project. And then there was a 1.8 million on Benton Heights. Chairman or Commissioner Helms and I went to Benton Heights to see the damage and the repairs needed, and they were extensive. Even with the $1.8 million already approved that they could have begun work, really didn't see anything started. Do you remember anything that even began? I guess we do need to look at that school, and I don't think there's any interest in this board in defunding a Title I school. I think you specifically said that yourself, Vice Chairman Akmus, and the figure that we've heard is approximately $3 million to do the repairs on that school. The 1.2 and the 1.8 equals $3 million. Chairman,
I think one point I'd like to make is that I think this board unanimously agreed that if any changes we make, that a Boards of Education member would come and be able to answer these questions. I think we need to follow that.
Mm-hmm.
As for, you're absolutely right on Benton Heights. They were very clear that there's no safety issues with the IP platform and losing that. But I think we still should have some dialogue with them on that.
Okay.
Out of fairness, but since there's no one here, I don't see that we need to take any action at all.
Would you like to present the question to them to go ahead and fund the $3 million for
I'll be glad to.
Benton Heights and see how they come back with that?
I'll be glad to have that dialogue.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I think you make a motion, have the chairman send a letter.
I have no problem with that either.
Okay. All right. Motion's been made for the chairman to send a letter to the
Send a letter to.
school board requesting someone to come confirm whether or not they would like the $3 million for Benton Heights.
Yes.
And, okay. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And I apologize for forgetting at the first of the meeting, Commissioner Simpson, Jerry Simpson, cannot be with us tonight. He's in Washington. He sends his apologies that he could not make it tonight, but he will be back in Union County tomorrow. Okay, next was the, let's see, I believe the incentive grant was next, number 14. And that's been taken off the agenda. So the next thing that we have would be item number 15, Union County Community Shelter. I requested this item be placed on the agenda for Kathy Bragg, the Executive Director of Union County Community Shelter, to brief the Board of County Commissioners on the work Union County Community Shelter is doing in rehousing the homeless and feeding the hungry, and its plans for a new 20,000 square foot facility. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you all?
Very good.
That was fast getting to 15. There must be an important basketball game tonight. Think so? Can you hear me okay? Well, thank you so much for having me here today, Commissioners and Ms. Manager. I appreciate the opportunity to come to you and to tell you a little bit about the work of the Union County Community Shelter. I know that many of you have been by and have toured our facility, and for you all and everyone that's watching tonight, we'd like to welcome anyone from the community who would like to come by and tour our facility. Please call us. We'd be happy to facilitate that for you. Tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the work that we're doing at the community shelter. A lot of people don't understand the many different programs we have and the different kinds of services we have. So in a nutshell, I kind of wanted to go over that with you tonight. We are a homeless shelter. We do provide sleeping facilities for single adult men and women. Last year, that was 292 single adult men and women. About 73% of our population are men, and 27% are women. Now, about 50% of those leave the shelter within their first 14 days of stay for a variety of reasons. They just needed a temporary place to come. They're moving in with friends or family, just a variety of different things. The other 50% enter what we call our 90-day program, where we participate in extensive case management with folks trying to overcome the issues that led them to homelessness to begin with, and also to get them back into permanent housing. We have 20 male beds and we have 8 female beds in our 2 very small dormitory rooms. But on any given night, we usually have around 35 to 40 folks there. So that means we have folks that are sleeping on the dining room floor or in the living room floor almost every single night of the year. This is a picture here of our men's dormitory. Believe it or not, there are 20 men that sleep in that little teeny tiny 500 square foot room. That's probably a lot of snoring going on at night. We do issue earplugs when people come in. We also, a lot of people don't realize this about the shelter, but we provide family homeless services as well. Last year, as a matter of fact, there were 67 families we provided homeless services to, 170 children and 98 parents. Now, there is nowhere that is appropriate for them to stay at our shelter facility because we are just way too small. So we have to put these folks up in local motel rooms, and the community shelter pays that bill. The maximum stay is about 3 weeks in the local motel, and then we work very diligently to get folks back into permanent housing over that 3-week period. We have on average 5 to 6 families a month, and the community shelter is spending over $40,000 a year just on motel fees. And when I spoke with with Sheriff Cathy recently about this project, he just said, Kathy, we got to get these families out of the motels. That's just not a good place for folks to be. And we agree wholeheartedly. We also feed the community at the community shelter. We are the only full-service soup kitchen in Union County that serves 3 prepared meals 365 days a year. We're never closed. We run 3 shifts. We're open not just to the homeless in our food services, but to any low-income citizen in Union County that experiences a need for food. In addition to our prepared meals, we have food boxes for the low income. We distribute food to 2 senior citizen communities once a quarter, and we also provide hygiene products and laundry services. For many of the people in Union County on the SNAP program with food stamps, I don't know if you realize this, but they can't buy any kinds of hygiene products with those SNAP benefits. And we are a place that we're able to facilitate that need. Last year in our teeny tiny kitchen, I can't believe it, but we served 47,000 prepared meals. It's not commercial grade, and it's probably smaller than your kitchen at home. Our dining room seats 45 people, but we often have more than that come and present themselves for a meal every single evening. We also provide case management and housing services. This is where we've invested a tremendous amount of our dollars over recent years. Our case managers are professionals, they're trained, and they work on income stability, job training. We have developed our own job training program in conjunction with South Piedmont Community College called the Work Ready program. Many of our folks come to us with jobs already, and there's some that come without jobs as well. And if you do come to the shelter and you enter the 90-day program, you are required to go to our job training program at SPCC. It's a 7-week program, twice a week. We work diligently on budget and savings. Many of the folks that we talk to have never even developed a budget before in their past. Family reunification, disability decisions. There are a lot of folks that are unable to work and they find themselves homeless because they have no means of support. We have trained caseworkers on staff that can expedite a disability decision through the state and get that decision made within 90 days if they're declared homeless and if they use one of our SOAR certified workers. We also address health and addiction issues with our partners throughout the community, and our shelter has very strong accountability and rules that everyone must follow. We're very proud of our rehousing services. We help to locate affordable housing for the homeless in this community. We work one-on-one with landlords throughout the community. We invite landlords to come into our facility and meet tenants before they actually agree to rent to them. We talk to our tenants about being a responsible tenant and what that means. As a result of this, landlords continue to come back to us now when they have an opening. They call us first before we call them because they've been very happy with the clients that we've been able to refer to them. For those who are underemployed, if you're only making about $1,000 a month, it's really hard to support yourself in housing. We do a lot of work with roommate contracts with our folks, particularly the single adults. We also have an assistance move-in program. We find that one of the #1 obstacles to homelessness is that folks do not have that little pot of savings to get back into a new place once they've been evicted or foreclosed on. It takes about $1,500 to get back in. But if you're working and making minimum wage, you're barely living as it is, let alone you have enough money to save to get back into a new place. We have a donated furniture program that's completely run by volunteers. And just last year, thanks to a grant from Sisters of Mercy, we were able to add a post-housing case management program. Once folks go into permanent housing, we then stay with them an additional 12 months and try to provide them supportive services to strengthen their ability to stay in that housing. You know, we have a lot of what we call the situationally homeless in Union County. And this snapshot, I think, tells it all, this graphic right here. The blue line are the rents, the housing costs for folks. The brown line is the median income of renters. And that is going down further and further as the blue line goes up. And so that gap is increasing. So normally, when you go and apply for a mortgage, your banker is going to tell you that you need to only apply 30% of your income for your housing costs, your mortgage, your utilities, all of those things. But when you're making $8 or $10 an hour and you're only bringing home $1,200 to $1,500 a month, where are you going to find a place to live for $400 or $500, including your utilities? It's very, very difficult, and that's how people get themselves into trouble with eviction. Our folks are normally paying 50 to 60% of their income on housing, so they're just one financial crisis away from homelessness. A really typical scenario that we see is that someone's car breaks down. They work every day, they're 40-hour a week. They have a $1,200 car repair bill. They don't have much savings because they're pretty much living paycheck to paycheck. That car is a necessity for them to keep their job, so they don't pay their rent that month. Instead, they repair their car. Maybe it didn't feel so bad that month not paying their rent, so the second month they're playing catch up. But again, it doesn't feel so bad. No one's calling on their door right now because they didn't pay their rent the first month and they're just trying to catch up. So they don't pay their rent the second month. By the third month, they've dug themselves so deep into a hole that they really have no way to get out of it, and eventually they become evicted. Those are a lot of the folks that we are helping. We do help with first month's rent, deposits, but we require every client that we move into permanent housing to be part of that initial first month's cost. They have to contribute, or what we call skin in the game, in order to receive our services. And what we're doing for these folks is we're mitigating the length of homelessness for people. If we didn't have this system in place and this program in place, someone would lose their home because of the car repair. They would then prepay themselves or self-pay themselves into a local motel room. They can afford that because they're getting a paycheck. But then they find out quickly that's all they can afford, that hotel room nightly for their family and fast food for their family. And before you know, they're in that motel for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months. Melissa, my client services director, is here, and she often sees family that are living like that for months, sometimes years at a time, because they have no means of being able to find affordable housing. That's a pretty strong skill set when you're looking for an apartment in that $500 to $700 range, and then also the help, the initial assistance to get into that housing. So what are our outcomes? Last year we served almost 4,000 Union County residents. We do serve only Union County residents. Now, I will tell you that there have been times when someone has presented on our doorstep and they were out of Union County, and we did provide them emergency services out of humanitarian reasons. But all of our programming is for Union County residents. Last year, we served 560 people in Union County with homeless services. That resulted in 9,133 individual overnight stays in our shelter or a local motel. This statistic is the one that always gets me, and the one that we're very proud of. Last year, we were able to place 90 homeless households back into permanent housing. 90 families, 90 households. 83% of our families and 60% of our single adults have retained that housing for 12 months or longer. 2,080 people ate 46,000 prepared meals in our soup kitchen, and the community received 1,629 members of the community received food and hygiene boxes. So we're doing all this work, kind of sounds like a lot, in this little teeny tiny building on Jefferson Street. This is our current facility. It's only about 7,000 square feet, and it's borrowed. The City of Monroe graciously allows us to use this facility. And folks, we have just absolutely outgrown it. Let me give you a comparison of then and now. 5 years ago, our budget at the community shelter was about $327,000. This year, our budget is going to be over $900,000, our revenue stream. 5 years ago, we served 204 homeless adults in a 1-year period. We turned people away. When we had no more room, no more beds, certainly didn't have the money to put people in motels, we just turned them away. There was nothing else we could do. We now have a no turn-away policy, and on average, over the last 3 years, we have been serving 500 to 600 homeless individuals in Union County. Folks cycle in and out of the homelessness system every single year. We don't turn any Union County citizen away. 5 years ago, we didn't have a rapid rehousing program. We didn't have a housing coordinator. Heck, we only had 1/2 of one person dedicated to case management. Today, we have a very robust rapid rehousing program where we've rehoused 90 households. We have 4 professional staff on board that deal with case management and housing location services. 5 years ago, we served about 26,000 meals. This year, we're going to be coming in at 50,000 or over, all in that same size, small little kitchen, smaller than your kitchen at home. 5 years ago, 175 food boxes. This year, we're on average about 1,200 food boxes to distribute. Anyone want to take a guess on how large our food pantry is? It's 96 square feet. It's probably about the size of 3 broom closets. And we have a beautiful woman in there, an 84-year-old volunteer who comes in every day and is our pantry coordinator, Miss Edith. And she makes sure that when we get a food box referral from the school system, that those children have snacks in that food box, that they have fresh produce, they have frozen meat in that food box. But unfortunately, we have to turn a lot of donations away because we don't have the capacity to store them. 5 years ago, we had 5 employees. We only ran 2 shifts. Today, we have 16 employees, and we're open 24/7, 365 days a year. So what's the solution? Well, we think it's building a better community with our new facility project. Our board of directors is 28 members strong, and they're volunteers in the community just like you are. They are very dedicated, and they've seen the path that we've grown over the last 5 years. And we have launched a campaign to build a new facility. This is our architect's concept of the proposed new $3 million facility. And we have a location for it. We already have property that has been donated to us. 2 parcels that equal 4.3 acres that are bound by Skyway, Meadow, Miller, and Heath Streets. On the other side of Skyway is the farmer's market. Cross the street over, look at the baseball field, J.C. Park, and that strip of land right there is where our new facility will be located. It was graciously donated to us by the City of Monroe by a 7-0 unanimous council vote. We're very proud of that vote. And this is what the interior of the new shelter will look like. Listen, we're not building anything that is going to be a Taj Mahal. We are focused on functionality and practicality. We are focused on getting as much in-kind support from local businesses and builders that we possibly can. But we have to work on getting this new shelter built. If you look at your floor plan here, this area right here is the men's dormitory, and this is the women's dormitory. The bed increase will be for the men from 20 to 49 with the capacity to go up to 64 if necessary, and in the women's residence hall from 8 to 24 beds. But this is right here, this green box, this is really the reason we're doing this, everyone. This is because we are bringing our families into the community shelter so that we can monitor them, we can provide them with supportive services, we can help take care of the children, we can make sure these folks are safe while they're waiting on getting into permanent housing. This will have 8 family bedrooms, a couple of them with connecting doors for large families. We'll have 4 family bathrooms with bathtubs. We're really proud of that we want bathtubs for our children. A small kitchenette, laundry service, and living area. Each of these dormitory rooms will have their own living area. Right now in the community shelter, we have one, what we call a day room living area. On here it's called a client activity room, lounge. We have one, and it has 8 seats in it. And on any given night, we have 35 to 40 people. In the new facility, this will all be included. There'll be a computer station, laundry station, health room, all here. Now the beauty of this layout is if you follow my cursor and you go down like this and you go over, just the residential sleeping quarters at night will be able to be separated from the rest of the building down here. And that was planned that way for security reasons and also for cost savings. Because this is where we're taking care of the currently homeless. This is where the emergency services are happening. The other parts of the building, up here with the pantry, the kitchen, the activity room, the dining room, classrooms, and over here all the program services areas for staff, this is where we're keeping people out of homelessness. This is the part of our program that is helping people to stay in their homes or to get them back into homes. So I've heard some in the community say, well, you're building a bigger shelter and you're going to have all these new homeless folks enter Union County. But as Melissa tells me all the time, our rules aren't going to change. We still only accept Union County residents. The problem is the facility we have now is just not sufficient. And so we're very excited about these plans. So why is this building a better community? Well, I think we all can agree that when we join together in a public and private partnership, it can benefit all. And I've talked with some of our community leaders about our project. Regarding public safety, if we didn't have a private organization like the community shelter taking care of the homeless in Union County, I would venture to say they would have to fall upon the government to take care of that situation. Sheriff Cathy endorses our project 100%, and I believe in your package you received a letter from him. Sheriff Cathy tells me that for every day that he can divert someone from the county jail into an efficient and effective shelter program, he can save taxpayers $67 a day. He also can save money because the shelter's programs and services are taking care of the needs of the homeless rather than his law enforcement officers dealing with the needs of the homeless out in the community and out on the streets. And also, the shelter can be used as an emergency disaster shelter because, see, we already have the infrastructure in place if the community needs to use our facility. We have the cafeteria, and we have the bed space, and we have the showers in place. And we plan to open that up for use by Union County citizens if ever needed. I also talked with Mike Lutz, the president of the Carolinas Healthcare Union. And Mike, wholeheartedly embraces this project. He likes to tell me, Cathy, you can tell me all the reasons why we should do this project, but I'm going to tell you the real reasons because it's the right thing to do. We need to do this in Union County. We need to build this building. We need to build this legacy for all citizens. But statistics do show that homeless patients stay on average an additional 4 days in the hospital when they're admitted. And that, as we all know, increases the indigent care costs for all of us. And the local economy. Pat Kell, president of the Chamber of Commerce, she presented to the city council when we were requesting our land donation. And Pat said that the shelter is a strong nonprofit business in this community. They employ 16 people, and we put close to $1 million back into this local economy and housing market. The new construction where we plan to locate will stabilize an area that right now is blighted with rundown factories. And the shelter program, we focus on moving people from dependency to independence. And hopefully that means long-term taxpayers for all of us. This is why we're building a better community. So our effort, $3 million is what we need. Since the fall, we have quietly been raising money. We've been kind of testing the waters out there to see what's going on, how many people might be supportive of this project. We are thrilled to announce to you tonight that we have raised $1 million of our $3 million campaign in just 6 months. So we're very, very excited about that. We will have a public campaign kickoff May 2nd at Monroe Country Club. And commissioners, we invite you all to attend as you, county manager. And we're going to be kicking off what we call a 3-year pledge campaign. Now, our board has studied this. We've done vulnerability studies. We've looked at feasibility. We've looked at a lot of different things. We have really a lot of smart people on our board. And we've divided our $3 million effort down into 5 buckets, 5 campaign buckets. Major private individual gifts, where we hope to raise $1 million. Smaller individual gifts and events, where we hope to raise $400,000. Foundations and governments, where we hope to raise $1 million. That's you guys, not $1 million, but maybe a little something. Business community, we hope to raise $500,000 there, including in-kind construction product. And faith and civic groups, we hope to raise an additional $100,000. Now, this is in addition to what folks are already giving us in that $900,000 budget. So tonight, we come to you to just tell you a little bit more about the work that we're doing, to invite you all to be part of this fantastic project for Union County. We hope that you'll be supportive of us as a public servant, personally, professionally, and hopefully financially, as you see fit. We hope that the Commission and the Union County will want to contribute to this project and be part of the partnership that we are in building a better community. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you tonight.
Any questions? I appreciate the tour that you gave me the other day. I think some of the other commissioners may have come down as well. And it is amazing to see what kind of work you're doing. I had no idea. You know, you think about homeless, you think about people on the streets and, you know, just a guy sitting around on the street all day. But, you know, it was amazing to me how many families you were serving and how you're putting these people back to work and you know, using the staff that you had there to get them back on their feet and not just in that cycle of being dependent on you. You're actually trying to move them away from that cycle. And I appreciate the work that you're doing. And while you're on camera too, anything that you can ask for the community at large, volunteers to drive people around or bring food or anything like that that people do?
Absolutely. You know, if folks want to go to unionshelter.org, there's a lot of opportunities where you can become part of our team at the Union County Community Shelter. We love to have a very diverse support group, and we thank the community for doing that. And Commissioner Rushing, when you were there, did you notice we were a little tight on space?
Oh, yeah.
I think Commissioner Rushing and I sat in my office, which I share with 2 other people, which also is our only meeting space, which is, I think it can seat 6 people in our meeting space, and it's right beside the only bathroom we have for staff. So. Yeah,
I was looking at your glamorous office, and along with about probably 3 other people in the office with you in your conference room, and you know, it's clear that you work on a tight budget, and it's clear that you make the most out of the money that you're given. And I understand churches come prepare meals.
They do.
From night to night.
We have a fantastic faith community support system. About 65 churches come in every evening on a rotating schedule and prepare and serve our evening meal. There's a waiting list of about a year in order to get into that, and probably some of you all have been there at the community shelter serving with your church group. We also have a lot of businesses for anyone out in the community that would like to come. It's a great team building exercise to come in and serve lunch. We have a cook on staff. She'll cook breakfast and lunch, and your team can just come in about 35, 40 minutes can participate in serving lunch to everyone. I like to invite everyone to come on down and have lunch. I always say it's the best lunch in town. I just don't know what it is till the night before when it's donated, but it's
Well,
pretty good.
We appreciate the work that you do, and I've been to other communities where the homeless come to the park at midday and get a sandwich, and it was just and it was just seemed to me to be very bad for a community, and what you're doing there. Having in that shelter with that small kitchen and doing all the stuff that you're doing in that small building has been wonderful. So thank you for coming out and presenting tonight, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about this as the budget goes on.
Appreciate that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. And Chris, Judge Bragg, I told her, I said, you seem to get older every time I see you, and she stays the same age. I don't understand that. And who's this young lady with you? Is that?
This is our beautiful daughter, Ellie, who is a new associate with Mr. Bundy's office. And she came in to see the Wheels of Justice rolling tonight, I guess. Or either that or they want me to buy dinner for them tonight. Or they wanted to make sure I didn't talk too long because Carolina's got to play a big little game tonight, So.
Yeah.
Go Heels, everyone.
Yeah, we're not interested in that. Nor Wake Forest, Jeff. All right. I'm sure NC State will be doing some cow judging contests or something. We're okay. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have a presentation of the Monroe Economic Development Work Plan, item number 16.
Yes, if I just may make a few comments before Mr. Platay gets started. When the board entered into the agreement with City of Monroe 2.5 years ago, at that point in time, we did put together a 2-year plan as it related to economic development and where we were going to put our energies and efforts. As the board is aware, you have renewed that arrangement for another 3 years, and another 3 years, and so Mr. Platay is coming forward to present the plan to you. I believe it's been to your city.
No, it goes tomorrow night.
Goes tomorrow night to the City Council, but it did go to the Economic Development Board of Advisors, and they did in fact recommend adoption. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Chris.
Thank you. Chairman Rushing, Commissioners, Manager Coda, I do appreciate so much all the support and continued support that we get from you guys, from myself and my team. It is just a wonderful relationship that we have, and I appreciate everything. And it's a pleasure to present to you tonight the work plan. It's a lot of work that has been put into building this. The previous plan was very successful, so we wanted to, again, just briefly summarize the achievements that occurred within that first 3 years of the program, 2.5 years, that we concluded the first work plan that generated $355 million of new capital investment within the county, 42 projects, over 1,100 new jobs, and the employment rate reduced 40% over that time frame. We had the best 12-month run of capital investments in Union County history and have maintained the lowest unemployment in the Charlotte region for 16 straight years. We generated $77,000 in grants coming into the county for our projects, as well as $2.65 million of 1NC grants from the state of North Carolina in the forms of incentives. And other recognitions, just some of those recognitions that we were able to receive was the top 5 Boeing supplier location, top 10 place in the Southeast to reshore manufacturing, as well as a top 10 no-brainer location for manufacturing in the South. When you look at the plan, or basically with the results of the previous work plan, the Board of Advisors and staff didn't feel the need to do just a complete overhaul of the strategies that we had. So we viewed as we needed to just update the plan for the changes that have occurred within the county, throughout the county. There's been multiple changes within our municipalities. We have the wonderful bypass now coming in, those kind of things. So we wanted to refine the strategies and the targeted industries accordingly. The overall goals of the work plan have not changed at all from the previous. It's to create more jobs for our citizens. It's to generate additional industrial and commercial capital investment within the borders of Union County, and to better define the county to the targets in which we market. you look at the areas of focus, those that contributed to the work plan in the development of that felt that the areas of focus were accurate for achieving those goals and objectives that we had to grow the capital investment and the jobs within the county. Now, this is known as the Simon chart, going back to the little game that we played as a child. It kind of resembles the Simon game, so that's where the nickname came from. But we revised it, and we wanted to modernize it to really depict the areas of focus again in a new way and make it clear and concise for the markets that we were targeting. The additional benefit of the way we depict this is, as we worked through the previous plan, there was a lot of discussion regarding the areas of focus that in those discussions resonated with a couple things that showed up within this format, where if you look at it, the precision manufacturing and logistics is your traditional economic development playground. This is where we would target industries and try to focus them for the county. The non-traditional, Union County is a little bit different in the fact that we have a non-traditional component of that, with the agribusiness being such a heavy component of the economy, as well as the need to grow the commercial side, particularly on the western side of the county. And when the companies make their decision, the top two, precision manufacturing and agribusiness, that decision by the companies is based on the skill set that's within the county. And if you look at the bottom, it's location based. So both logistics needs the roadways and infrastructure in place, as well as commercial. They're looking for the interstates. One of the other changes that occurred when we were developing the new plan, is how we identify the locations for the competitiveness. So looking at this competitive analysis, in the past, we were focused on looking at the desires of the municipalities. And so that was a natural first step with the merger of the organization and trying to develop trust and knowledge of our other municipalities. Well, that trust has been established. And so as the natural maturation of our office is, we're not municipal focused as much now, we're county-wide. It's a true county focused organization that needs to look at the county as a broad thing, not its individual components as much. So we're looking at the regions within the county, and this is how we developed the competitive analysis for the precision manufacturing, agribusiness, logistics, and commercial based on the western or the gateway area of Union County, the central area, as well as the eastern. The Board of Advisors gave significant time and input in the development of the changes and all the new additions to the work plan. And they helped establish these choice target industry sectors. And so within the targets, the staff will, this is where we will focus most of our time and our budget from a staff perspective. It's basically these five choice targeted areas. Once they were established, we had small group meetings with the board members and got a lot of feedback, a lot of direct feedback, incredible conversations that allowed us to come up with the recommendations that they provided to us, and those went directly into the program of work here. And so as we look at the first one, the ag equipment and processing, ag was one of the targeted industries that we looked at last time, but we've expanded that and changed a little bit. We've added more of the processing side, as well as migrating a little bit from the row crop side of equipment and looking more at the poultry side. So through the discussions, we've done a lot of work going after the row crop equipment manufacturers, those kind of sectors, and weren't seeing quite the success that we were hoping for. So we started to migrate, with the help of some of the board members advising us, more toward the poultry side and what's the equipment to help support that side of the industry. You can see some of their other recommendations here. Within the aerospace, that group was focused on trying to expand that as well. So obviously aerospace is the best cluster that we've got established within the county. It's generating the highest revenue from an investment standpoint as well as hourly rate standpoint. So we needed to try to continue to grow that. So we're looking at the additive manufacturing component, the 3D printing, those components and also looking at the interiors. So as you look at aircraft, what other components can we try to take advantage of? And so interiors became a larger target within the aerospace choice target industry. Office development, clearly it's a real need for us to develop the western side of the county within the commercial side, and the office development is significant to that. And so the push, again, is in the real estate brokerage market to get the awareness, get the relationships, really focus on that within the Charlotte region. Medical device, again, another growth, expanded area. Looking at medical devices, we've tried to go after those in the past. We're expanding that beyond just the device into the support side. It's one of the things that Mike Lutz and others involved in the medical side encouraged us to do. And so we're looking at those, the back office, the information technology, and the other areas that are out there that can help support the medical industry from a distribution standpoint. But also looking at those companies that have angel investors and private equity investment within them. Now, a new potential area is the retail initiative. This is, it's not a measurable component of the work plan. Basically, it's a pay-to-play program that we're looking at, and this is a response to some of the communities that have shown some interest in wanting to grow their retail. This is not a part of the interlocal agreement. The budget dollars associated with that interlocal agreement will stay to the traditional economic functions. The retail is a pay-to-play for those municipalities or other government entities that want to be a part of that effort. It's really a 5-year proof of concept. Right now we've had some interest from Monroe as well as Waxhaw. Maybe some other communities as well are coming on board. We're having conversations with them to see if that will happen. If we cannot generate the funding, then we will not go forward with this project, but it will have its own smaller work plan if we do establish it. But we wanted, because it was such a key conversational piece that kept coming up, we want to make sure that at least it was recognized as something that we would look at. Within the plan, we came up with several strategies. Strategy A being the existing industry retention expansion component of the program. Within those are certain goals and then action steps. So you see goal 1 is provide uncommon value to our existing industries, and then the action steps associated with that. Goal 2, continue to maintain the highest level of customer service through our visitation programs, resolving issues, putting a time limit on that, something that we track within Salesforce, which is a program that we use for our customer maintenance. And so the other events that we do, such as the industry appreciation, are also included in that. Looking at product development, is to develop and control industrial lands throughout the county, be that by owning or options or other mechanisms that we can come up with. We'll produce target lists of properties, which we've already started down that path with the planning and zoning as well as water and sewer with the county. Complete the creation of an infrastructure extension program through Union County, as well as develop land option contracts. Establishing a list of development partners, something that's extremely important, working with that real estate community, working with the contractor community, as well as the other allies in banking and legal and accounting. The marketing, awareness, and recruitment, it's increasing the lead generation by 10% annually. Looking at international missions, getting appointment specialist hired on to help us do that. We've done a little bit of that with the Paris Air Show in the past. Plan marketing trips to our strategic locations, places, like there was actions today in California, which would most likely help us by putting in a $15 minimum wage. Things like that, companies are going to be looking to exit those locations. That becomes now a target for us to go after. Harvest supply chain information from our existing industries, again, another source of lead generation, as well as working with our other allies. Finally, the last strategy and goal within this is to increase the awareness among the allies and prospect audiences. Again, social media has been so strong with us, particularly the Unitas campaign. It's been extremely successful, as well as develop a quarterly newsletter, which we've just started, the Prospector, and that will come out again here this week, the 2nd edition of that, as well as a stronger press release protocol of getting things out and people knowing about what's going on here in Union County, particularly on the economic development front. So as we look forward, from the start of this fiscal year through June, was to complete the new work plan, relocate our offices, which has been done, reestablish the 501c3, as well as the measures of 300 jobs and $60 million. We'll redevelop our website within the next fiscal year, as well as keeping the same measures, and then 17, again, 300 jobs and 60 million. So looking at hopefully the minimum requirement coming out of this work plan is another 180 million and 900 jobs for Union County. So with that, we would ask for the adoption or any other questions that you may have of us of the plan.
Any questions? Thank you very much. And we appreciate the job that you guys are doing.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Make a motion, we adopt the 15 to 18 Monroe Union Economic Development Work Plan.
All right, motion's been made. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, number 17, appointment of commissioners to serve on Central Iowa Economic Development Commission.
Oh.
Ms. Beckman on this?
Thank you. We were contacted by the Central Iowa Economic Development Commission. Presently, Vice Chairman Akmus serves on the CEDC, and his term expired in February of 2016. And they sent us a request asking whether or not Mr. Akmus was interested in being reappointed, and also requested he be reappointed if he was in fact interested. And therefore it's been placed on the agenda for your consideration. And I believe Mr. Akmus did indicate to us that he was interested in being reappointed.
Be happy to continue to serve if it's the will of the board.
Entertain a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Vice Chairman Frank Akmus to serve on the Central Iowa Economic Development Commission for an additional 3-year term, March 1st, 2016 to February 28th, 2019.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. And that brings us to county manager's comments.
And I have no comments this evening, Chairman.
Commissioner Richard Helms?
No comments. Wish everyone a pleasant evening.
Commissioner Lance Simpson?
No comments. Have a good evening.
Vice Chairman Frank Akmus?
Yeah, just real quickly, thank you, Kathy Bragg, for coming out and sharing the vision for the homeless shelter, the new and improved homeless shelter for Union County. And also want to take the opportunity to thank Chris Plateau